We're learning the first Sikha on Lech Lecha in Chelek Chaf on page 38. The shir today is being learned Lili Nishmas Rabbi Yosef ben Yamin ben Rabbi Menashe Koltman. Auf dem was Avram hat gesagt Soren, fahren ankommen ke Mitzrayim. Regarding this, what it says in this week's parasha, that Avram tells Sarah before they come to Mitzrayim. So in this week's parasha, the Torah tells us about Avram and Sarah that came to Eretz Yisrael. And after there was a hunger in Eretz Yisrael, they continued and they went down to Mitzrayim. So on the way to Mitzrayim, he tells her, "V'hoya ki yiru eisacha Mitzrim." If the Mitzrim will see you, and Avram was very afraid because he saw that his wife is a Isha Yefas Mara, and he's married to her, and he doesn't want them to kill him and take her away. So when the Mitzrim will see you, "V'amru ishtoi zois v'hargu oisi v'eisach yichayu," and they'll say that you're my wife, and they'll kill me and they'll take you. Imrina achoisiyat. So you should say that you're my sister. L'man yitav li bavurech, and then they'll do good for me. V'choisa nafshi b'glalech, and I'll remain alive because of you. That's what Avram tells Sarah. Is you do it, Shaila. So the question all the Mefarshim ask here is, Via Zoyat Avram eingestellt Sarah in Nazar Matzev. How did Avram place Sarah in such a kind of situation, such a kind of danger? As the Mitzrayim sollen ihr zunehmen, that the Mitzrayim should take Sarah with them, kedei as soll durch dem geratet werden, and that he, Avram, in exchange, will be saved. How could Avram save his life while putting Sarah's life into such a danger? Mefarshim zenen mevayer as via Zay Avram, but the Bai nicht overgewen kenisse. If you look here in the commentaries, they explain why technically Avram did not do anything that's forbidden here. And additionally, in Zaya steht, as Avram is given Zicher, as the Schus von Sarah wird hier beistehen und wir werden nicht anrühren. Avram was also confident that because of the merits that Sarah has, that Schus will be there, stand there to be good for her, and nobody will touch her. However, what it explains in the Mefarshim and in the Zohar still doesn't answer the question, because it's completely not understood. That by you saying that you're my sister, then as a result they'll do good for me. What was he referring to? It was das meint, as Zeliber sagen achaisiyat vet minim geben matanis. If you'll say that you're my sister, so in exchange Avram is going to get gifts. Hayitachim. How's it possible to say, as b'shas retzach wegen azar ernsten inyan, when we're speaking about such a serious situation, einzustellen Sarah and azar matzah bulti ratzei b'choleifen, putting Sarah into such a kind of situation, no matter what the result would be. Yes, Avram was confident about her having a schus, but either way, we're talking about a very serious situation. Bichdei zu verhitten sich von sakonis nefashes, in order to save a life here, soll dabei teufes Makke sein. Das was wird bekommen batonis. Is it at all significant to even think about the fact that by saying that you're my sister, Avram is going to get gifts here? Biz, as das is God the erste Tam of dem Imrina Achaisiyat. To the extent that this is the first reason Avram gives for why she should say that he's her sister. That Laman Yitav li bavurech. The first point is that now they'll be good to me and they'll give me gifts. Who's thinking about money, gifts, when there's a question of a life over here? So in Psik Beis, the Rabbi brings what it says in the Zohar about this. The Zohar stellt sich auf dem umfragt. The Zohar here stops on this pasuk and asks the following: V'chi Avram di'iu dochel cheta, Avram Avinu, which is fears a sin, Rechimu Kutche Berichu, the one that loves Hashem, Hava Ama Hachi Al Itze, begin the Yud von Li. Could Avram Avinu speak in such a way that she should say that she's a sister in order that it should be good for him? And the Zohar answers, as Avram Leisomach as Chused Dilei, Avram was not relying on his own merits, and he wasn't asking the Eibishter to bring out his chusim here, rather this was all in the chus and the merits of his wife Sarah. The Yevach Biginom Memoina, that he should get money here because of her, the Shar Amen from Mitzrayim here, from other nations, the Hamemoine Beitze Zochile Barnash. The money that a person has, he merits them in the merit of his wife. Und is mevai beprotius wie durch an isha maskeles is mezoiche bekula. The Zohar there then says in detail that if a person has a wise wife, a good and righteous wife, It's in her merit that he merits everything. Denach is the Zayah Mamshech. Then the Zayah continues and says, V'samich al chused dilah. He relied on her merit. That they will not have an ability to punish him, or in any way to touch her or to do bad to her. And therefore, it didn't matter to Avram or others like Gaitis here. Instead of Layav Midi, in the bottom, the Rebbe brings the Girsa in Ha'ara 8, Laydachel Midi. He wasn't afraid of her saying that she's a sister because he knew that she won't be touched and she'll be safe, and Avram will get only good out of this. That's what the Zayah says there. But over here, what the Zayah says about all of this is also very difficult to understand. What's the main question here of the Zayah? The Zayah begins with the question asked before: is Avram Avinu here saying all of this, that she should say that she's a sister so that he will have good out of this? Kanal. Wie Azrai hat Avram eingestellt Itzei Saren, and as Amatze begin the Yot von Lech. How is Avram putting his wife in danger so that he will have good? But if them is a teres bepashtos, so what would be the answer to this? The answer should be, as by Avram is given barer, that it was clear, Avram was 100% confident that they won't do anything to his wife. And therefore it didn't bother him to say that she's a sister because he knew nothing will happen. So why when the Zayah addresses this, does the Zayah say, and this is actually the first point in the answer, as Avram is given batuach the yirvach bigina memaina, that Avram Avinu was absolutely confident that he's going to earn money here in her merit. And the Zayah goes on with great length about this point, that person has a good wife, this brings him his money. And the main point here, as by him is given zicher, as mevet your garnet can and ton, the fact that Avram was confident that he won't be able to touch her, that point the Zayah only says all the way at the end that he was 100% sure that they're not going to be able to touch her. Why does the Zayah focus so much here on this point that Avram wanted to get the money and the merit of his wife like it is with every Isha Maskelis? Similar to the question that the Rebbe asked in Sif Aleph on the Pasuk. The first point that the Pasuk says is Laman Yitav li bavurech. The question is even more. In the beginning of the answer, the Zayah says, the Zayah goes on to explain Avram Avinu was not relying on his own merits, it's not his, it's rather Sarah, his wife's merits. So this detail here, whether it's his merits, whether it's her merits, this is at all not relevant to answer the Shaila the Zayah asks. The question that the Zayah asks, how could Avram Avinu say this and put his wife in danger to have good for himself? The only point that the Zayah should be saying is that she's not being placed in danger. Avram was absolutely sure nothing will happen to her. Why does the Zayah go on to explain over here this point of the schus of Sarah and not the schus of Avram? So here, Sif Gimel, the Rebbe will explain what Avram was saying here in Pashat Pshat in the Pasik, and why this is not a question on Avram. The explanation is as follows. Weil der Eibishter hat gesagt Avramin, as durch Lech Lecha me'arzach ha'gomer. Wie bald is, again, because Hashem told Avram that through Lech Lecha me'arzach, by him leaving his land and his place where he was, that the Zeicha zayin zu, ve'eschel l'goy gadol, will become a great nation, va'avorechecha, and I will bench you, va'gadlo shmecha, and you'll have a great name. Was va'avorechecha meant b'mami. Rashi explained in the beginning of the parsha, what does va'avorechecha mean? That it'll be blessed with money. Is by Avram given abgelegt. So by Avram it was clear, as das was der Rebbe hat geführt, as Avram hat gemusst wegen von Eretz Yisrael, Masire lotzes mimena on yoyed zayin Mitzrayim. The fact that the Rebbe causes that Avram has to leave Eretz Yisrael and go down to Mitzrayim is euch verbunden mit der Durchführung von der Meibischen Avtache Avarechecha. It was clear to him that this is all connected to David's promise of Avarechecha, that he's going to become rich, which is accomplished through the Lech Lecha, and this is all part of this process of him coming down to Mitzrayim, and this is where he'll become rich. So Avram wasn't over here thinking about mama and about the riches that he'll get personally, selfishly. But to him, it was clear that whatever the Eibusher does is for a purpose, and if he's here now in Mitzrayim, it's part of the process of how he'll see the fulfillment of Hashem's bracha. Now, since Avraham Avinu saw here, in Derech HaTeva, even just looking at things naturally, how Hashem's bracha to get blessed with money will be fulfilled here in Mitzrayim. Durch dem, was Sarah wird sagen, sie ist seine Schwester, by Sarah saying that she's a sister, hat der Vater gesagt, Imri na chaysiyat, laman yitav li bavurech. So therefore he said that she should say that she's his sister, so now they'll do good to him, they'll give him money. Oh, that's what actually happened. As durch dem, was Yitazeh gesagt, by her saying that she's a sister, is all Avram, Heitiv, Bavura, Vayihilo, Itzayin, Obaka, V'chamayrim, Gaimen. Avram Avinu actually got very rich with cattle and everything else, all the gifts that they gave him in Mitzrayim. So we actually see here that he was right, and the fulfillment of the Eibusher's promise that I'll be blessed with riches was fulfilled right here, and that was Avram's intention. And just like we understand this in the simple sense, in the pshat of the pasuk, al derech zeh asayich b'pnimiyus inyan. The same is also true looking at the inner dimension of what's going on over here. Durech Lech Lecha, through the fact that Avram Avinu leaves his land, hat Avram gedav zukommen zu an aliyah haliche b'madreges ruchnius. Avram Avinu is going and reaching higher levels spiritually. Durech mevarer umayla zayin den nitzitzis kedusha in Welt, and this is by refining and elevating the holy sparks that there are in the world. Und die Kavane is euch gewen in sein Yeride leMitzrayim. And this purpose was also fulfilled here when he descends to Mitzrayim, zu mevare sein, den Nitzitzis Kedusha was gefunden sich dort, to elevate the holy sparks that are there in Mitzrayim. So therefore, if Avraham Avinu understood that this is the purpose why he's here in Mitzrayim, it's not a mistake that there's a hunger and he has to go away from Eretz Yisrael, but that he has a purpose there to elevate the holy sparks, which come through the money and the gifts that the Mitzrayim are giving him. So now here there's another point. As in Yonei Mitzvahs, was teichen is der Birr an Nitzitzis HaKedusha from Welt. So since we know when it comes to all mitzvahs, now the idea of mitzvahs is not just limited to fulfilling mitzvahs, but more broadly speaking, it refers to the Aveda of a Yid in the world, to elevate the holy sparks that there are in this world. Daarvan bechlal getan werden b'derech hateva. Generally speaking, our Aveda in this world all has to be done through natural means. As it's explained in many places, that's what the Eibusher desired, that everything should happen dafka within nature. The Rebbe hat Avram gesagt Saren, so therefore here Avram Avinu saw this opportunity in nature, naturally, to become rich. So he tells Sarah, Imri na chaysiyat, say my sister, was durch dem, that bei von Tivi durchgeführt werden der Mechuvim von seiner Yeride Mitzrayim. And here, naturally, he'll be able to fulfill the whole purpose of him descending to Mitzrayim, the Aliyah von Avram durch der Birr an Nitzitzis, to bring Avram to a higher level by elevating these holy sparks here. And that's the L'man Yitavli, to elevate the holy sparks here with the gifts that the Mitzrim gave him. That is the simple pshat of the pasuk, and also the pshat b'pnimi sanyan, and what Avram Avinu was doing here, and why he was asking of Sarah to do this, that he should get these holy sparks. Now, the kashif in Zohar is, when the Zohar asks the question, is the Zohar is asking after we understand this point, this explanation. As the Yotfen Li, that what's happening here is that Avram Avinu is going to have this good, he's going to experience an elevation, the Yetev, the Aliyah, Durich, Birr an Nitzitzis, the goodness and the elevating of the holy sparks, with Zayin, not Avram, this will only be for Avram, Unitzu Sarah. And Sarah will not experience this because it's Avram Avinu that's receiving this gift and that's elevating these sparks. On the contrary, Sarah wird sich gefunden by the Mitzrim. Sarah will be found by the Mitzrim. She's captured. As it actually happened, she was taken into the house of Pare. And although she won't be able to be touched, but still the gain and the aliyah that Avram experiences, Sarah, even though she's safe and secure, will not be touched, but she will not have any of this advantage, but she won't grow out of this experience. Is the Kashya, so therefore the Zohar is asking, wie kann man sagen, as Avram soll geirem sein, as Yeride farsoren zu sein beweis Paro? How can we say that Avram would cause such a great descent for his wife Sarah to be in the house of Paro, zu lieb der Aliyah, was wird haben davon, because of the great advantage that he is going to have from this. So true, we understand Avraham Avinu wasn't doing this selfishly. It's all because of the fulfillment of Hashem's bracha and the fulfillment of his purpose of why he's there in Mitzrayim. But after all, it's his aliyah at the expense of his wife's Yerida being in the house of Pareh. As by Avraham is given bar, even though by Avraham it was absolutely clear, as the Tachlis, Yeridasil Mitzrayim is to leave der aliyah, Yetiv Lida. This is the purpose why he descended into Mitzrayim, to have this goodness, to have this money and the gift to elevate the holy sparks. But nevertheless, how's he allowed to do this? Is doch kamet drachem lamoken. The Eibishter has many different ways how to get this done. Hat Avram gedarft, verlassen sich auf den Eibishten. Avram should rely on Hashem. Und das wird durchgeführt werden bei Vernache. And will get done in some other way. Aber nicht durch die Yerida von Sarah. But it doesn't have to come at the expense of this great Yerida that Sarah has to experience to be taken into the house of Pareh. And if them meant for the Zoyar, so over here, the Zoyar answers, he wasn't relying on his own merits, that whatever he's receiving here was all the schus of his wife. Whatever money, whatever gifts he's receiving is because of her. Whatever money a person earns is all coming in the merit of his wife. Whatever money a person earns comes through his wife. Und von dem ist verstandig, as Azayzes Beruchnis Hanyanim. What the Zohar is explaining over here is that we understand from this also regarding the spiritual aliyah that Avram is experiencing here, that this is also relevant here to understand the role that Sarah plays here. In order to be able to accomplish and to elevate the holy sparks that are here in Mitzrayim, is nit genug zayin Yerida in Mitzrayim. It's not enough that Avram descends to Mitzrayim. Kann sich nicht verlassen auf sein Schus. Avram cannot rely on his own merit. Nor as darf sein Schus ditze. He has to be there and with his wife Sarah, and it's with her Schus that he's able to elevate these holy sparks. Davke durch ihr Yerida in Beis Pareh. It's only through her descending even further into the house of Pareh that memayla zayin the nitzitzes the yirvach begina. It's only because of her schus that you're able to receive and earn and get this money from the nations, from here, from Mitzrayim. Und bald, as the Tachlis von der Yeride is the Aliyah, was wird sich öftan durch der Isha Maskeles. And since the whole purpose here of this descent is the elevation, the taking out of the holy sparks that is accomplished through this wise wife, through the schus of Sarah, is move on as beschusa la yachlan lanshale. And that's why the Zohar says, that's the explanation of why it's understood that it will be impossible for them to punish her, to harm her. Das wird nicht geidem sein, ken Yerida by Avramen. So first of all, actually, La'an the Rebbe's Medayik here means that they will not be able to harm Avram himself. He will not get in any way affected by this Yerida to Mitzrayim. And also, Ulachaycha ba, unit ken Yerida in Saran. Because Sarah is necessary, she is the reason for this entire aliyah, so she will not be harmed or touched either, and she will not experience any yerida. So therefore, it's not a yerida of Sarah for the aliyah of Avram, because the whole zuchus of this money and the bitter anitzaitzis that Avram is accomplishing is coming through Sarah. Says the Zohar, Avram was confident that both he himself will not experience any yerida, he won't be harmed, and Sarah as well will also not be touched either. She won't experience any yerida. Just to stop here for a moment, I can't help but think about the situation that we're in now when there are so many Yidden that unfortunately are captured amongst Goyim, and you see here this chusim that Yidden have, and this chus that Avram has, that Sarah has, that no Yid should be touched, and whatever it is should be just a Yidid Tzarech Aliyah to bring us to the ultimate Aliyah of the Gula Mitzvah Shlema. Let's continue in Siv Dalet. Azevi Ale Inyane Maisa Ovis is Oich der Inyan Anal Asim Labanim. Just like everything we learn about the story of the Ovis in the Torah is, so too this point here is a siman, is a sign, is an indicator of what happens to the descendants, the Yidden. In the Klolis, so there's a lesson here for the Aveda of the Yid that descends in his neshama in a body here in this world, ubefraten the Yerida in Golis, especially in the time period of Golis. Was Avram v'Sara zene merames of the beginning von neshama v'guf. The descent of Avram and Sarah to Mitzrayim hints to the neshama being Avram and the guf being Sarah going down into Golus, into Mitzrayim. As the Zohar explains there by Riches, the relation between Avram and Sarah being similar to Neshama and Guf. So therefore what this means here is as follows, talking about Avram descending to Mitzrayim, but that the main zchus of the Aliyah comes dafka from Sarah, which hints to the body. So what is the lesson from this that we take for our Aveda? And that Aveda is HaTorah mitzvahs, a Yid fulfilling Torah mitzvahs in the world, or birid on itzaitzis, and refining and elevating the sparks in the world, and in dot tzvei fanim klolium. There are two general approaches. Aleph, the Aveda is be'ikr durich the neshama. One is when a person primarily serves the Eibishter with the power of his neshama. He's in a spiritual place and connected with his neshama. However, being a neshama in a body, the body sort of joins along by the inspiration of the neshama, but it's primarily a neshama experience that he's connecting to Hashem with. That's one approach. Another approach, however, is the Aveda to tzechayiv durich dem guf. An Aveda that is being done through the body itself. It's the body that's personally getting involved, not just by receiving inspiration from the neshama, but it's the body itself that's getting involved. And the Aveda is focused on the body itself, to be there, to be present in this Aveda. That Adam Ha'avid is nit muvdul mufresh von inyane ha'olam. So this is a person that's not separating and secluding himself from matters of the world. Adarab, on the contrary, he's ready to go down from his level. He gets involved in the matters of this world. It's a difficult place, a harsh place, and a place where wickedness is very mighty in this world. And there, in that condition, that's where he fulfills Torah mitzvahs. And he gets involved to elevate the holy sparks that there are in those low places. Generally speaking, these two approaches here is as alderech hamavur baruch and chassidus. This is what's explained in other places at length in chassidus. The tzvei oifane aveda from b'chinas hachaisi b'chinas eshti. This is two levels of a Yid relating to the Eibishter. One is relating like a sister, and one is relating like a wife. Und das then in die zwei Darges and Avos Hashem. These are two levels that express the love of a Yid for Hashem. Was then in Bedugma die zwei Bechinas Ave, which could be understood by the two levels of love that there are bein achva chais, between a brother and sister, uvein ish ve'isha, and between husband and wife, which are both a mashal for understanding the deep connection that a Yid has to the Eibishter and the nature of a Yid's Aveda in this world. And the Rabbi explains the difference. The Ava Musateres, the hidden love, the hidden natural love that there is, versus da by Yedin Yidin mitzad nafshe elekis, which is there in the heart of every single Yid that his neshama possesses. Was the Ava is beteva tel doisam. This is a love that's there from birth. This is the nature of a Yid. This is something which is impossible to affect or interrupt. Is bedugmas ava von achvachais. This could be compared to the brotherly love that there is between a brother and sister. Was is an ave tivis mitel daisam. This is a natural love from birth. It's impossible to change the facts and to change this love that there is between siblings. Nit wie in der ave beinish leisha. Unlike the love that there is between husband and wife, was an irish shaycha hefsik durch gerishin. It's possible for there to be a divorce and a interruption of this love, or to not continue this love. However, on the other hand, though, mahai time gufe, for this reason itself, while the ave von achva chais is an Indian tivi, because this brotherly love is something which is natural. Und in der ave is in der ave nida kein simoin vakalesa nefesh. So therefore, a certain intensity of yearning and of a person to the point of losing himself completely in this love is not necessarily there. And also it lacks a full oneness, a full union. Since at the end of the day, these are two independent people. Their bodies are independent people. Yes, there's a very powerful and strong connection between them, which is natural, which is real, which is unbreakable. But nevertheless, it has its boundaries, it has its limitations. In und durch den Birur von Guf und Nefesh Bahamis. By contrast, when it comes to the love that a Yid has for Hashem, which can be awakened through a person refining and revealing his Guf and Nefesh Bahamis by including also his body and the animal soul to connect to the Eibishter. So here, this is a novel connection on a completely different level. Is the bedugmas ha'ava von ish v'isha. This is a kind of connection which is similar to husband and wife. Was chach in them is shaykh hefsik. Even though here we're talking about a connection and a feeling that it's possible to stop. This doesn't express something which is natural. Is abedafke in them do that simoin v'kaleisa nefesh. But over here, what characterizes this kind of love is that someone's coming from a distance. When someone is reconnecting from a distant place, so there's a tremendous intensity and yearning here. Und der Yichud, and another detail is the union, was vert al yoda, is a Yichud betachlis. The union between husband and wife is absolute. Busy werden via guf echad, to the point they become one entity literally. That is the great advantage that there is to the love that comes out by Ish v'Isha, which is in the Avodah of a Yid, refers to the relationship of a Yid that comes from the guf and the nefesh bahamas. So now bringing it back here to the story of Avram and Sarah and what we learn from what Avram tells Sarah regarding our Avodah in this world. And das ist die Eira, was man hat von Anhages Avram. So now we understand the lesson that we can take from how Avram behaved here when he came to Mitzrayim. As the parnasa is b'schus d'yitzeh, that a person's parnasa, a person's livelihood, a person's riches, comes in the schus of the wife, Sarah. What does this mean? Tachlis, b'shleimus, aliyas haneshama. What is the ultimate and most complete elevation of the neshama? Is durch them, it's through this, was meshickt dem guf, zu yoyred sein in an oifen von the slapshus and an yani olam hazeh. That's only when the neshama, which is in a body, allows the guf to go down and to do its mission, to get involved in worldly matters, to elevate them. Bedugmas Mitzrayim, to go down into a place of Mitzrayim, bizim peis pare, you to go to the lowest place, into the house of pare. Und wie bald, as kavanas, hayiride is the aliyah. And since ultimately the purpose, of course, of every descent is for the great elevation that comes from this, durch mevare sein dem guf and nefesh bahamas v'chelka ba'olam, by refining and elevating the body, the animal soul, and the portion of the world that a person is involved in, is muvans understood as la yachlin la'anshale, that it will not be possible for the person to be harmed, which means the neshama will not be harmed by allowing this yiride. As vert nit kein yirid in the neshama, this will not cause any descent in the neshama. And also there'll be no yiride in her, which is Sarah, meaning the body of the yid. Der gov vert nit mushka chas v'shalom in klippe. The fact that a yid goes in those places where he has to be to elevate his holy sparks that he's supposed to al pitayra, he will not become immersed, God forbid, in klippe. No, adarabah. Ze beide vernis alle be'ili acharili. Both the neshama and the guf get elevated level to level, higher and higher, by fulfilling the ultimate purpose, not only to serve Hashem with the inspiration of the neshama and remain secluded and separated from the world, but to do like Avram and Sarah did, to go down and to send the body to get involved in Inyani Elamaza and to elevate it and use it to elevate the holy sparks that are there. This is the general lesson that we learn from the story of Avram and Sarah here. However, here in Sifei, going forward in the Sikha, the Rebbe will bring us to a much deeper understanding of the lesson we learn here, based on the point that Rebbe said here, that there are two ways of relating to Hashem: the Achaisi relationship, the brotherly relationship, which is the Neshama connection, and Ishti, which is the Ish v'Isha, the novel relationship that comes dafke from the Guf and the Nefesh Bahamas. So now, based on all of this, we need to understand. Everything in Torah is precise. Und wie bald, as das was Yirvach beginnom meine de Sha'aramin. Since over here, the whole point of Avram earning this money from the nations, from Mitzrayim, which is the bid, and I'd say it is Valiyas Avram, it's elevating the holy sparks, and Avram Avinu experiencing a tremendous aliyah, is mitzad chusad yitzeh. It's all because of the schus of his wife. Mitzadem vazi is ishta. She's his wife, and as the Rebbe explained before, what the significance of a relation of a wife is beruchni is, that's the level of the relation of the neshama that comes dafka from the guf, from going down into lowest places. If so, tavi kumtes, as the revach bepoil is gekommen durch dem, so why is it that the actual gainer of this money that he got, how did this come, was via Avram is margish, as the laman yitavli is ba'avureich, that I'm going to have this good because of you, durch dem was imrina chaysiyat, by her coming and saying that she's a sister. Seemingly, her coming and saying that she's a sister is a contradiction to the whole point of it here. A sister is that neshama relationship that does not go down into Olam Hazeh. The wife is the relationship of the neshama of the guf, that is, the guf of the yid that goes down into the world. So why are we saying that on one hand, it's all in the schus of the Isha, which represents the go of going out into the world, but yet that schus is accomplished by Sarah herself saying that she's a chaysi, that she's a sister. Now, the question, to spell out the question the way it relates to Aveda, the Rebbe explains it here. In the Aveda Ruchnis von Neshama v'guf, when it comes to the spiritual of Aveda v'yid, that includes both the body and the soul. The Iker Aliyah kommt doch nicht durch B'chinas HaChaisi. The main elevation a Yid experiences in his Aveda in this world is not through the level of connection that's natural, the Neshama connection, the HaChaisi connection, durch Aveda Neshama Atzma, the soul alone, not durch the B'chinas Isha. It's the connection of the level of Isha, the Aveda mitten Guf Kanal. Specifically the Aveda where a person is focusing on elevating even the body as well. Is in was besteht to von HaChaisi in Aveda. So what consists over here the advantage that there is of the sister, this kind of Aveda that Avram is telling Sarah to focus on? Und wie es bringt sich in Chassidus, as it's brought also in my modern Chassidus, as das was Avram hat gesagt HaChaisi meant the Avetivis from the Neshama Kanal. When Avram is saying Imri na Chaysiya, that you should say that you're a sister, this refers to utilizing the power of the natural love from the Neshama. But l'chayra, that's not the main schus, the main gain of a person's birurim in this world. The main birurim comes from getting involved with the guf and going down to the lowest places. Das verstehen, so to answer and understand this, so here the Rebbe will bring Bahaktim by introducing Habir to explain, and then was the Zohar sagt dort, Bas Choles Inyan Anal. What the Zohar explains here in the beginning, before it talks about this whole subject of Avram and Sarah, so the Zohar there gives the following introduction. Rabbi Loza va'azol lemechme la'avoy. Rabbi Loza was going to visit his father. V'havi ime Rababa, and along with him was Rababa. Omer Rababa, so Rababa says, name a million deiraisa. V'nezel, say a word of Torah and we'll be able to go on our way. Pasach Rabbi Loza v'amar, and that's when Rabbi Loza opened up and said, and here spoke about what it says in this week's parasha, Imri no achoisi at haikra kashi chulu kanal, that this pasuk of Avram saying Imri no achoisi at l'mayitav li bavurech, and the question that was quoted before that the Zohar asks in this story. That's how this opens up. Is mevayde tate in seine Oris of Zohar. So the Rebbe's father, in his comments on the Zohar, explains as follows. Lidrosh bezeh pasuk. Why, out of everything, did he choose to darshan on this pasuk over here? Dafke, specifically, ki zeh Omer Avram beis shaholach bederech leMitzrayim im Sarah, because this is something that Avram told his wife Sarah on their way, going down to Mitzrayim. Rabbi Loza and Rababa heimal derech Avram v'Sarah are similar to Avram and Sarah. Ki Avram v'Sarah heim b'chinas Abba v'Ima chulu. Because Avram and Sarah represent Abba v'Ima, which are Chachma and Bina, which will be explained soon at length. Okamaykein, similar, Rab Elazar have a b'chinas Chachma, v'Rab Abba b'chinas Bina. So Rab Elazar and Rab Abba are both Chachma and Bina. So in Cain, if so, the fact that they chose to speak about this is not just incidental, but halichasam b'derech, them going in their way is similar to Avram and Sarah representing Chachma and Bina going on their way. So when Avram went on his way, Avram said, Imri na chaysiyat. So Lechain, his chol Rabbi Elazar gam came lidrosh b'pasuk hazeh. Sorry. So therefore Avram as well, or Rabbi Elazar rather, that is, also began to darshan on the very same pasuk, being in the same exact situation, him and Rab Abba, similar to Avram and Avram and Sarah, that is saying Imri na chaysiyat. That's how the Rebbe's father explains the Zohar. This is Bechlal, the derech of the Rebbe's father. Everything in Zohar is precise. It's not just incidental, but this is the same inyan. Now, based on this, the Rebbe says this will actually give us a deeper understanding of what Avram and Sarah, what Avram was telling Sarah. That this is coming to teach us what Rabbi Elazar and Rab Abba were doing, but in fact, this actually will come and give us a clarification for what Avram and Sarah were doing here, why Avram said specifically Imri na chaysiyat. Von dem Teuchen, wie das ist bei Rabbi Elazar mit Rab Abba, looking deeper into the content of what happened here between Rabbi Elazar and Rab Abba when they were going on their way, which is B'chinas Abba ve'ima Chachma or Bina, which represents Chachma and Bina. that wir verstehen beprati is Yeiser b'negei Avram v'Sara, which represents Neshama v'Guf. We'll have a deeper and better understanding regarding what happened between Avram and Sarah, which represents the body and the soul. So here, let's have a better understanding. What is the combination of Chachma and Bina? What does this mean that Chachma and Bina are taking a journey here in this world? In Seder HaSfiris, if you look at the order of the 10 Sfiris, is Bina Mikabel dem Seichel V'Asaga from Chachma. So what's Chachma? On a simple level, Chachma is the point, the breakthrough that a person has in a subject. And Bina is when you take it apart and you have the full comprehension with all of the details. So therefore, in that sense, Bina is just a recipient which takes the idea, the breakthrough of Chachma, and it brings it down. It carries it into the person's understanding to fully understand the idea that's there in Chachma. However, but the way it is, when it comes to Chachma and Bina, it's only when you allow you can take this flash and this point, this breakthrough of Chachma, and bring it down into the details in Bina to fully understand it, in an Eifen von Havana, Hasage, Hasbara, to explain and comprehend, Bizim Pratim or Prati Pratim, breaking it down to all of its details. Kumtzu a Teisvis Ilin Etzama Scholar. This brings a person to a much deeper and more profound understanding in the very idea that he understood first in his Chachma. Was is nicht gewähnt der Askala Atzma, wie sie ist gestanden in Chachma, which he may have not had there in the beginning when he got the main point there, the main breakthrough that he had in Chachma. So even though Bina seems to just be a recipient, a secondary level of understanding where a person just takes the point that he already has clear and just breaks it down into the details, but the fact is, only when you take it apart and fully understand it with all the details, it brings you back to a much deeper understanding of what you even had in the original breakthrough of Chachma. The time of them is, why is this so? Bina hat a hecher and sheirish in koyach hamaskel vi Chachma. It must be that Bina does have its own and higher source in the power of the person's intellect, and the source of the intellect, which is even higher than Chachma. Und therefore it's possible for Bina not only to receive and take apart and explain the point of Chachma, but even enlighten Chachma, inform Chachma, and elevate Chachma to a higher level. So that's on one hand. So we see here the fact that Bina is a recipient, but at the same time, Bina is also going to elevate Chachma. Aber, to go back to look at what role Chachma plays here in a person's understanding, das was Bina peilt an Ilion Chachma, the fact that Bina can bring and enlighten Chachma and bring it to a higher level, can come in dafke nach dem wie Bina's mekabel, the Askala von Chachma. You can't skip that step. It has to first receive the idea, the openness, the clarity, the truth that's shining, that's there in the breakthrough of Chachma. That truth, that emes, that Chachma shines, will also now enable Bina to reveal its power of what it has, to bring that truth into the details, which will then, in turn, elevate even Chachma itself. This will reveal in Bina itself what its real source is, was is Hecha von Chachma, which is even higher than Chachma itself. Und durch dem kommt zu an Eloi in der Haskala von Chachma. And therefore this brings a person to a much deeper understanding even than what he had in the Chachma itself. So the point here is that in Chachma, the truth, the emes of the Chachma is revealed. That's what the whole idea of what Chachma is all about. The whole idea of Chachma is not the metzias of the person of what he understands. The whole idea of Chachma is being open to the truth, putting aside a person's preconceived notions and just being completely open to the emes of the idea. That's the breakthrough of Chachma. Bina is the exact opposite, bringing it into the metzias of the person. How do I size this up? How do I understand this? How do I comprehend this? So Bina is an opposite focus of Chachma. On the other hand, the fact that this truth could be settled in a metzias, how could this truth be understood and comprehended even in a metzias? It's because it has a deeper power, that it could penetrate the metzias. It has to have a deeper power than Chachma. But that deeper power that Bina has on its own is not revealed and experienced at all. On the contrary, in Bina, all you feel is limitation, details, the entity of the person. When it's Chachma, the truth of Chachma is shining through into Bina, that reveals that the real point of Bina is not just the person's comprehension, but that the truth of Chachma is shining through and penetrating into his Metzias. And then this reveals a much deeper point that it has, and a much deeper power than it has, even more than Chachma itself, and it elevates even Chachma to a greater degree. That's the point there in this relationship between Chachma and Bina. Now from this we can understand and have a deeper understanding in the relationship that there is between Ish v'Isha as well. This is Mavua Ba'arucha in a minyan from Bina Yisera Nitna Bisha Yaisim Bish, the expression that the Gemara says that there's an extra level of Bina, specifically focusing on the Bina that there is by a woman more than by a man. So from this we can understand that a Ish v'Isha are similar to Chachma and Bina. As Chach, so talking about birth that comes from Ish v'Isha. So even though der Vlad kommt durch der Ashpa Satipa from the Mish, the birth comes from the flow that comes to point, and the beginning, the Ashpa, comes from the man. Aber this Havas Avlad, the creation of the fetus, is Dafka Ayidei Isha. That is in the body and through the woman. Nor, so that's on one hand we see the great advantage that there is in the Isha. As the Maila Be'isha is an Inyan Atzmi Ubehelem. This great Maila, this great advantage that there is in the Isha, similar to the Maila that there is in Bina, is something which is very deep, and it's something which is not experienced, it's not expressed at all. Kendas kommen lidei giloi nor durch dem was is mekabel the ashpa from the mish. This only is revealed through the ashpa that she gets from the husband that triggers and enlightens and reveals the kayach that there is in the isha to give birth and to bring a new birth that's even more than what the chachma, or in this case the ish, has on his own. And this brings a great revelation from above, even higher than the ish himself has. And it brings a blessing which includes both of them together. Zachar unekeva bara isam, the Eibush creates male and female. That they can multiply and be fruitful and have children. So this brings a tremendous maila even to the Zachar as well. So we see here the same dynamics in the relationship of Chachma and Bina, the way it plays out in the relationship between Ish v'Isha when it comes to birth. So now, coming back, we can understand, first of all, the Rebbe will explain what the Rebbe's father explains regarding Rabbi Elazar and Rabbi Abba that were going on their way. Al derech ze ume'ein ze is the bir oich in dem inyan anal from Rabbi Abba and Rabbi Elazar. So similar, we could explain regarding the journey of Rabbi Abba and Rabbi Elazar going here on their way. Ze aralicha b'derech, when they were going out there in their way, is in Yana, what does this represent? The Yeride. Zu mevara zayin in Yana Ya'ilam. These were great holy Tanaim which were on a higher level, and they were coming down from their level. They were going down into the world. That's what this journey represents. This is the Pashtus, and this is what they were simply doing here. As Rabbi Elazar, the Zun for Rabbi Shimon ben Yochai, Rabbi Elazar, the son of Rabbi Shimon ben Yochai, and Rabbi Abba, Mechabri Rabbi Shimon ben Yochai, and also Rabbi Abba, which was one of the colleagues of Rabbi Shimon ben Yochai, they were people that their entire profession, everything in their life was just pure Torah. So here, though, when they're going down on their way, first they were abgetragen von Inyane Ya'ilam, meaning Teirasim Amnasim really means not only someone that learns constantly, but someone that's completely removed from worldly matters. Is the Alicha B'derech, so now here, them going down into the way, afilu lemechmila avoy, even if him going on his way was to see his father, the great Rabbi Shimon ben Yochai, but nevertheless he's going down to fulfill a mitzvah of Kibbud Av, which is a certain interruption of Teirasim Amnasim, of his learning of Torah. Given a hefsek and yerida, this is an interruption and a descent. An a reisgang von Zeyer, Maimud Matzev, leaving their world, their reality of Torah. On the fast, so therefore, so this is one of the reasons why Rabbi says, let's say words of Torah. While what Rabbi is saying with this is, so Eiftanen Welt, yes, the main purpose is to go down into the world, but in order to be successful and accomplish in the world, you must have the power and the assistance that comes from the light of Torah. And this is something that was spoken about many times on a very practical level. As the Nesinis Koyach and Avodas Avirurim from a Balaisek, where there's a person that's in business, get the power to refine and elevate the world and not get distracted and involved in worldly matters and forget why he's there, to turn the world into a dwelling for Hashem, is nit bleis mitzad dem limud Torah b'tchilas hayom. It's not enough the fact that he has his learning of Torah in the beginning of the day. Was geht mi Beis HaKnesses, le Beis HaMedrash, as it says in Shulchan Aruch that you daven in the beginning of the day in the Beis HaKnesses, and then from there you have to have a share of learning as well in the Beis HaMedrash. Und danach, and only afterwards, Hanig ben Minig derech eretz, does one go out into the ways of the world. Nor oich, additionally, b'shas ha'esek gufa, during the day, in the time of his business, darf men haben der Siyua and the Siniskayach von Torah. Even then, you need to have that light and that assistance of the light of Torah. Es darf sich bei ihm anhören, dem Ilui von Torah, he has to experience and sense the light of Torah in everything that he's doing. Und das bringt euch, als gaselt von Shoah Esek of Limud Torah. And what this causes is that because he's never detached, he's always connected to Torah, so the person steals from his time, even while he's doing his work, to have a moment to go and learn Torah, even there in that time. So, going back to the story of Rabbi and Rabbi Lazar, and the Rebbe, Rabbi gesagt to Rabbi Lazar. So Rabbi tells Rabbi Lazar, and here the Rebbe is medayik the name. Rabbi Lazar, Al Shem Elekei Avi Be'ezri. The name Rabbi Lazar is that the Eibishter is here to my assistance. As in der Alicha B'derech Gufa, they're here, yes, they're going in their way, and this is their purpose to descend into the world. Darfen haben dem Ezer, Mulmaila. But you need to have that connection, constantly have that assistance from above. Was kommt durch Neme Milen der Reise. And this is by saying words of Torah, euch wenn sie gefinnen sich bederech. Even when they're found in their way here in this world. Und durch den wird es gale die Meile von die Bitter an Itzaitzis shebinyan elam haliche bederech. And this reveals the Meile that there is and the holy sparks that there is in the world. Was man macht von dem Welt adirale is barach, to turn the world into a dwelling for Hashem. Auf der Aveide von Limud Torah mitzaratzma, to the point that this Aveda in refining the holy sparks in the world is even greater and deeper than Torah itself. So the dynamics over here between the Torah, the light of Torah that's needed here, and the main purpose of the Aveda, which is elevating the holy sparks that there are in the way, in the world, is similar to what it is with Chachma and Bina. Just like by Chachma and Bina. So Chachma has to be mashpia into Bina. And it's Chachma that reveals the true Shadish of Bina. And once you reveal the true Shadish of Bina, so the details and the understanding of Bina brings a new profound understanding, even deeper than Chachma itself. It's the same also with Torah and the Birurim. On one hand, you have to have the Koyach of Torah. Without the Koyach of Torah, you cannot go into the world. And it has to be there consistent, constantly connected to Torah. At the same time, though, through this Gufa, Torah shines a light on the Aveda of a person in this world and reveals the content of Bir Anitzaitzis, which is really, then brings a person to a place which is even higher than Torah itself. So now Siv Zayin, the Rebbe brings this back to what happened with Avram and Sarah, where on one hand, this is all in the schus of Sarah being Ishti, which is the Aveda of the Guf, but at the same time, Avram says this will only be possible if you're going to say Achaisiyat, if you'll say that you're my sister. With this we understand also what happens by Avram and Sarah, and similar when it comes to the Neshama and the Guf of Yid in this world. In der Alicha B'derech, when a Yid goes in the world, the Yeridim Mitzrayim in Golus, descending to Mitzrayim or in Golus, Val Derech Zeh, the Yeridis and Neshama Beguf Bechlal. In general, the Neshama descending into a body in this world, Dav Zayin, the Yamir, the Ashpa from Avram L'Sara. So what you need over here is Avram telling Sarah, meaning the Hashpa of Avram from Avram L'Sara, from the Neshama and Guf. You need to have the flow and the influence of the Neshama to the Guf. Was die Ashpa besteht in them was imri na achaisiyat. What's Avram telling Sarah? Say that you're my sister. As the guf zol the heren beginnes achaisi. The first step is that the body must first understand and get the big advantage that there is to the neshama achaisi, the milas ha'aveda v'gili oir neshama. The great advantage that there is to the neshama, because the neshama is light, the neshama is godly, the neshama is connected naturally. First, the guf has to tap into that openness, that connection of the neshama. And that's what Avram is speaking and giving to Sarah, to the body. But then through this, once you shine that light of Achaisi, of the neshama, so now this will reveal the true shadish of the Aveda of Sarah, which is the Isha. The Aveda of Maila from the Guf Mitzad Atzma. This reveals the Maila that there is in the Aveda dealing with the body that it has on its own, the Maila that it has. From the neshama, which actually possesses an even higher source than where the neshama comes from. Es wird nisgale, the Meile, in Bechinas Ishti, Avedes HaGuf, Oivachoisi, Avedes HaNeshama. Through the hashpa of the neshama, it doesn't only inspire the guf to follow along with the neshama, but it actually then reveals the great power that there is in the guf itself, which then will even elevate even higher the neshama, even higher than it is on its own. Das peilt die Aliyah euch in the neshama leman yitav liba vureich, that because of the guf, Avram will experience the yitavli as man the zachi beisha maskeles zacha bekula. If one has a wife, which refers to the guf that does its aveda the way it should be, so then he's zeicha in everything. Parnasa bezachus ishtay, the parnasa of the neshama all comes in the schus of the wife. Besignayin acha kitzas. To explain what's being explained over here and the dynamics between the neshama and the guf in a little bit of a different way. Durach avedas haneshama beguf. When a Yid serves the Eibishter while his neshama is in a body, val yidei guf, and it's through the body, in chelkai ba'ilam, coming down in his portion in the world. Was the guf mitzadatzma? Now, what is the body on its own? Is chumri hanidme b'chumri yusay l'gufei u'misaylam. It's physical and mortal, just like all the physical bodies that there are, if even a guy in this world. Was the far ken by chumri is from Welt Mitzrayim Ervetz Haaretz, and therefore, when you look at things and you see it from the perspective of the physical being of the world in Mitzrayim, in the lowest place in the world, Zayna Kasol Kedaitach, there could even be a thought to say, as the guf is shayach zu zeh. This is a body that's just part of the world. It's, even though it's a Yiddish body, but it looks like it's just another physical body in the world and belongs to be in the world. By Sarah, and that's the point here that the pasuk is telling us regarding Sarah, was vatuka ha'isha beis Pare, that she's being taken into the house of Pare, meaning she belongs to Pare. It's just a body like every other body. Is aber, however, durch them was in it is meir the ave v'er neshama, when you shine the light and the love of the neshama, b'chinas achaisi, as Avram is telling Sarah, that say that you're my sister, shining the light of the neshama, vert noch oif getan, oich the ave. In guf and nefesh bahamis. So this triggers and reveals that there's this love to the Eibishter and in a novel way that comes out dafke in the body and in the nefesh bahamis. The aveda, this is verbunden mit birer v'zichur haguf, and this is the aveda which consists of refining and revealing the truth of that this is a Yiddish guf, and also in every other portion of the world that's connected to him. On them old, what you have then is retnisgala the bechiras ha'atzmus. And this reveals what the guf of a Yid is. That it's the bechira of the essence of the Eibishter, which is specifically in the body of a Yid. And this level of what the guf is revealed, and then the neshama receives this tremendous power of the guf, oich to the neshama. That now even the neshama can take from this tremendous level of atzmus, or atzmus that is, which is revealed in the guf. This is a concept which is explained in many other places regarding the guf of a Yid, the dafka, the guf of a Yid, which is nidme b'chumri yusay, the guf yom yisraelam, does not express any level or aspect of godliness, where it has to be one way or another way, which has already a certain nature of how it's expressed, but it's the essence of the Eibishter himself, that it's he that's choosing. The Eibishter chooses completely without any expression of anything. That's specifically in the guf of a Yid. So when you reveal, when the neshama shines a light and reveals this truth about the guf, so then in turn now the neshama receives this hashpah from the guf. That this will all be revealed when Mashiach comes. And then when Mashiach comes, the neshama will receive nourishment. It will receive its parnasa from the body, which is a revelation of the bechiras ha'atzmos in the guf of a Yid. Even if the guf looks like gufei umis ha'olam, it doesn't matter. This is the bechira of atzmos over here. Adarabah, this is the bechira of atzmos of the Eibishter in a Yid. Right. So again, as I mentioned before, you have Yidden that are captured, that are in a place. The guf of a Yid should not be harmed, should not be touched. This is the koyach that there is, that the Eibishter loves the Yid no matter what situation he's in. The guf of a Yid is the highest and the most precious thing to the Eibishter.